Alara Hayes counted her last $18 for the third time, hands shaking from the cold her broken radiator couldn't fight. The eviction notice gave her 6 days. Outside her Queen's studio, winter wind howled like a wounded animal. Then she heard a child's weak cry from the alley below. She looked out and froze. A man slumped against the dumpster, blood soaking through his coat. In his arms, a small boy with fever-bright eyes, clutching a worn plush wolf. The man's voice was barely audible. "Please, my son." Every survival instinct screamed, "Don't get involved. Call 911. Close the window." But Alara was a med school dropout who still remembered her oath. And that child was dying. She ran downstairs. That single decision would shatter and rebuild her entire world. Alara Hayes' life had collapsed 2 years ago when mounting debt forced her to abandon Columbia Med School after her grandmother Eve's stroke. Now at 24, she worked brutal night shifts at a Queen's diner, surviving on $18, 5 days of instant ramen, and 6 days until eviction. Eve, the fierce former principal who'd raised Alara after a drunk driver killed her parents, languished in an underfunded nursing home with $22,000 in unpaid medical bills. Alara had sold everything: her textbooks, her mother's jewelry, even her laptop. She was one crisis from homelessness. On the coldest night of February, a desperate cry from the alley changed everything. Adrian Valente, though she didn't know his name yet, sat dying against a dumpster, a bullet wound in his side, fever-racked 6-year-old Leo, barely conscious in his arms. His car had been ambushed 3 blocks away. His phone was destroyed. His last words before passing out, "Save my son." Alara saw the gun in his waistband and the blood everywhere. But she saw the child's burning forehead, the plush wolf clutched in tiny fingers, the father's desperate love. She brought them to her freezing studio, used her incomplete medical knowledge and her last $18 on supplies, and saved both their lives with nothing but skill and her final packet of ramen. She didn't know the wounded man was the Wraith, the most dangerous mafia strategist New York had ever known. She didn't know his son hadn't spoken in 8 months. And she didn't know that her mercy would lead to love, mortal danger, and the family she'd lost years ago. Getting them upstairs nearly killed all 3 of them. The man, still nameless, still bleeding, could barely stand even with Alara supporting his weight. The boy she carried, burning hot against her chest, clutching a worn plush wolf like it was the only thing tethering him to consciousness. Inside her apartment, Alara laid the child on her bed and stripped his fever-soaked clothes with practiced efficiency. His skin blazed under her palm. 104, maybe higher. She ran cold water in the kitchen sink, the only basin she had, and lowered him in gently. He whimpered. Didn't cry. Didn't speak. Just stared at her with those enormous brown eyes filled with terror so deep it made her chest ache. "I know, sweetheart," Alara murmured, reaching for the medicine cabinet. Her fingers found the bottle of children's Tylenol she'd bought months ago when the neighbor's kid was sick. Expired by 3 months, but it would have to do. "I know it's cold, but we have to bring that fever down." She crushed the tablet, mixed it with water, held it to his lips. He drank. Good. That was good. While he soaked, Alara pulled out her medical kit and turned to the man. He'd collapsed against her wall, leaving a smear of blood on the peeling paint. His eyes were closed, jaw clenched, breathing shallow. Alara knelt beside him. "I need to see the wound." He didn't respond. She peeled back his coat. Expensive, she noticed, even soaked in blood, and cut away his shirt with kitchen scissors. The bullet hole was clean, through and through, right side, below the ribs. Missed the major organs or he'd already be dead. But he was still bleeding. An infection in this cold, dirty apartment was almost guaranteed. "This is going to hurt," she said. She grabbed the vodka bottle from under her sink, cheap stuff she'd been saving for a night she was desperate enough to drink alone, and poured it directly into the wound. His body went rigid. A sound escaped through his teeth, animal. Guttural, but he didn't scream, didn't cry out. Just bit down on his belt and endured. Alara threaded her sewing needle with thread she'd boiled in her last clean pot. Her hands didn't shake. For the first time in 2 years, her hands were perfectly steady. This she knew how to do. Where did you learn this? His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. Columbia, Alara said, pulling the first stitch tight. 2 years before I had to quit. He watched her work through half-lidded eyes. You're good. Better than field medics I've known. She didn't ask what field medics he'd known. Didn't want to know. Just focused on the rhythm. Needle in, thread through, pull tight. Needle in, thread through, pull tight. When she finished, dawn was bleeding gray light through her window. The boy she still didn't know his name had fallen into fitful sleep in her bed. His fever had broken to 101. Still high, but survivable. The man sat at her table, pale but conscious. Alara made ramen with her last packet, cracked in her last egg, divided it into 3 bowls. She gave them the larger portions. When did you last eat? He asked, watching her. I had something before my shift. Alara lied. His eyes said he knew. But he didn't push, just looked at his son, still sleeping, still clutching that wolf. He hasn't spoken, the man said quietly, since his mother. He stopped, swallowed hard. Since his mother. Alara understood what he couldn't say. The morning after they left, Alara stood in her landlord's office with $800 bills fanned across his desk. Her hands didn't shake. She'd counted them 4 times already. Mr. Kowalski, 60-something, permanent scowl, smelled like cigars and suspicion, picked up each bill, held it to the light, checked for counterfeits. Where'd you get this kind of cash? Does it matter? Alara met his eyes. It's rent. 2 months plus late fees. He grunted, stamped her receipt, and Alara walked out with 6 more weeks before the street claimed her. It should have felt like victory. Instead, her stomach twisted the whole subway ride to the pharmacy. $600 for Eve's medications. The pharmacist didn't ask questions, just filled the prescriptions Alara had been stretching and splitting for months. At Ridgeview, the billing clerk's eyes widened when Alara handed over $1,200 in cash. This brings Mrs. Hayes' account to $19,000 outstanding. $19,000. Still impossible, but less impossible than 22. Alara had $2,400 left. She stood in the produce section of the grocery store, staring at actual vegetables, red peppers, fresh spinach, carrots that weren't limp and brown. Her cart filled slowly. Chicken breast, eggs, bread that wasn't day-old discount, milk, real food. At checkout, watching the total climb, something broke inside her chest. She turned away from the cashier, shoulders shaking, hand pressed to her mouth to muffle the sound. Ma'am? Are you? I'm fine. Alara swiped her tears away. Paid. Carried bags that felt heavier than their weight back to her apartment. The money sat on her table all night. She knew where it came from. Blood money. Violence money. A man with a gun in his waistband and enemies who shot him in alleys. But it had bought Eve's heart medication. Bought her time before eviction. Bought food. This money might have come from terrible things, Alara thought, staring at the bills. But it's keeping us alive. The next day, she bought flowers for the first time in a year, yellow roses, Eve's favorite. Her grandmother sat by the window at Ridgeview, thinner than Alara remembered, but sharp-eyed as ever. Those eyes tracked Alara from the doorway, missing nothing. You look different, Eve said before Alara even sat down, scared and hopeful at the same time. What happened? Alara told her everything. The alley, the blood, the child who wouldn't speak, the $5,000, the burner phone with a number she'd Googled obsessively until she found the truth. Adrian Valente, the Wraith, Wanted by half of New York's underworld. Eve's weathered hands folded in her lap. Tell me how he looked at his son. Like. Alara closed her eyes, remembering. Like the boy was the only thing keeping him alive. When Leo touched my hand and whispered warm, Adrian's eyes filled with tears. He turned away so I wouldn't see, but I did. 40 years I was a principal, Eve said slowly. I've seen monsters. Boys who hurt animals, who terrorized smaller kids, who looked at you with nothing behind their eyes. And I've seen broken men trying to be better. Which one is he? Alara's throat tightened. Both. Somehow both. Eve nodded like that was the answer she'd expected. Your parents died because someone got behind the wheel drunk. One bad choice. Maybe that person deserved a second chance before they made it. Maybe they needed someone to see them struggling and help. She reached for Alara's hand. Everyone's story is complicated, sweetheart. Even yours. What do you mean? You left med school. Does that mean you stopped being a healer? The question hit harder than Alara expected. 3 days later, the burner phone rang during Alara's shift at the diner. She almost didn't answer, grease-stained and exhausted. Balancing 3 plates, but something made her step into the alley. Miss Hayes. Not Adrian's voice. Deeper. Military crisp. My name is Rocco DeSantis. I work for Adrian Valente. Alara's pulse kicked up. How did you get this number? Mr. Valente gave it to you. He'd like to meet. He has a proposition regarding his son. I'm not. No pressure. No danger. Just a conversation. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Café Margot, on West 4th. He'll explain everything. The line went dead. Alara stood in the diner's back alley. Phone pressed to her chest. Choice spreading before her like a chasm. She went. Rocco picked her up in a sedan so ordinary it was almost invisible gray. 4 doors. Nothing remarkable, except the way his eyes constantly scanned mirrors and side streets. They drove for 40 minutes through Queens, doubling back twice. Checking for tails, Alara realized. The safe house wasn't what she'd expected. No mansion, no fortress, just a modest 2-story in a neighborhood where neighbors minded their business and lawns stayed trim. Deliberately unremarkable. Inside, everything was clean, Spartan, functional. Like a place designed to be abandoned in 30 seconds. Rocco showed her the reinforced doors that looked normal but weren't. The cameras hidden in smoke detectors. The panic room disguised as a coat closet. Don't ask about his work, he said, voice flat and professional. Don't answer the door to anyone but me. If I say move, you move immediately. Understood? Alara nodded, throat dry. Her room was simple bed, dresser, window, overlooking a small backyard. More space than her entire studio. Through the glass, she saw him. Leo, sitting alone in dead grass, clutching that wolf, staring at nothing. The playroom was full of toys no one had touched. Wooden blocks still in their package. Books with unbroken spines. A train set gathering dust. Leo sat in the corner, wolf in his lap, eyes fixed on the wall like he could see through it to someplace else. Someplace his mother still existed. Alara didn't approach, didn't speak. Just settled into the chair near the window with a book she'd found on the shelf where the wild things are and began reading aloud. 20 minutes. Leo didn't move, didn't acknowledge her. But Alara kept reading, kept her voice soft and steady. The way Eve used to read to her after the fire. After the nightmares. Somewhere around let the wild rumpus start. Leo shifted. Just an inch. Closer. Alara turned the page, pretended not to notice. By the end, he was close enough to see the pictures. Still silent, still separate, but present in a way he hadn't been when she'd started. She closed the book. "Want to see my favorite part again?" Leo didn't answer. But his small hand pushed the book back toward her. They read it 3 more times. By the 3rd, Leo's breathing had slowed. The tension in his small shoulders had eased, just slightly. Progress, Alara thought. Tiny, fragile, but real. Adrian stood in the hallway, watching through the crack in the door. He'd come home to silence the usual silence, but this felt different, softer. His son sat next to a stranger, listening. Not speaking, but listening. Not hiding, but present. The memory hit him without warning. Elena, in their old apartment. Leo on her lap, reading this same book in that same gentle voice. She'd had patience like still water, had never pushed, never forced, had let Leo come to her in his own time. Alara had that same patience, that same instinct. She's good with him, Rocco said quietly, appearing at Adrian's elbow. She's extraordinary with him. Dinner was simple pasta with butter and garlic, the kind of meal that didn't demand anything. Alara set 3 plates, and they sat together at the small kitchen table. Leo between them, still silent, still clutching his wolf. "Did you have a good day?" Adrian asked his son. "Nothing." Leo's eyes stayed on his plate. Adrian's shoulders dropped. Alara saw the defeat in the gesture, the worn-down hope of a father who'd asked that question every day for 8 months and never gotten an answer. She picked up her fork. "So this customer came into the diner yesterday," she said, not looking at Leo, just talking like it was natural. "Ordered eggs over easy, hash browns, bacon, normal breakfast, right? But then he asked for ketchup. Not for the hash browns. For the eggs." Leo's eyes flickered toward her face. "I brought it to him, and he just drowned those eggs in ketchup. I'm talking painted them red. Then he looks at me and says, 'Perfect. Like this is completely normal.'" The corner of Leo's mouth twitched, almost invisible. But Adrian saw it. His breath caught. After dinner, Leo stood, walked to Alara, took her hand. She looked down at those small fingers wrapped around hers, and something in her chest cracked open. Leo led her upstairs to his room, small, neat, clearly unlived in despite the months they'd been running. He pointed to the photo on his nightstand. A woman with dark hair and Leo's exact eyes smiled out from the frame. "Beautiful. Gone. Is this your mama?" Alara asked gently. "She's beautiful. You have her smile." Leo touched the glass with one finger. Looked up at Alara with a question too big for words. Alara sat on the bed's edge. "It's okay to miss her. It's okay to be sad. And it's okay to be happy sometimes too. Your mama would want you to be happy." Leo climbed into bed, wolf tucked under his arm. "Want me to read another story?" He nodded. First clear yes. Alara read The Velveteen Rabbit about becoming real through being loved. Halfway through, Leo's voice came so soft she almost missed it. "Stay. One word. Seismic." "I'll stay as long as you need," Alara whispered. She read until his breathing evened into sleep, then carefully stood to leave. Adrian waited in the hallway. He'd heard everything. His eyes were wet. They didn't speak, didn't need to. Understanding passed between them in the dim light, 2 people who knew what it meant to be broken. Watching something precious begin to heal. 3 weeks in, Leo used words like currency precious, carefully spent, more juice, read again, Papa home? Each phrase felt like watching spring arrive after endless winter. Mornings became ritual. Breakfast at the small kitchen table. Sunlight cutting through the window in golden slants. Alara taught him letters, numbers, simple addition. But mostly they drew. Leo's pictures evolved. The first week, black scribbles, violent and chaotic. Second week, shapes that might have been people or might have been nightmares. Third week, recognizable things. A house, a tree, a wolf. Then one morning, he pushed a drawing across the table. 3 figures holding hands, tall man, small boy, woman with yellow hair. "Who are they?" Alara asked, though her heart already knew. Leo's finger moved across the paper. "Papa, me, you." not four figures. Elena's photo still sat on his nightstand, still got a goodnight kiss. But this picture, this was his present. His rebuilding. Adrian started coming home earlier. For months, he'd avoided the house during Leo's waking hours. Guilt made it unbearable to watch his son's silence, knowing he'd caused it by bringing violence into their lives. But now he found reasons. Forgot his phone. Needed a file. Had to check something. Really, he just wanted to hear Leo's voice. Wanted to see his son smile at Alara's terrible jokes. One evening, Alara noticed Adrian pushing pasta around his plate, eyes fixed on Leo coloring at the counter. After Leo wandered to the playroom, Alara spoke quietly. "Are you okay?" Adrian's jaw worked. "I keep waiting for it to hurt less." Seeing him happy without his mother, Alara understood that guilt, understood survivor's weight. Maybe it's not about hurting less. Maybe it's about hurting differently. The grief doesn't shrink you, just grow around it. Adrian looked at her sharply. "Who taught you that?" "My grandmother. After my parents died, she said grief is love, with nowhere to go, so you find new places to put the love." Silence stretched between them. Then, "Your parents. How did it happen?" "Drunk driver. I was 8. Car flipped 3 times. Alara's hands folded in her lap, old memory playing behind her eyes. "Eve pulled me out through the broken window. 2nd-degree burns on both arms from the engine fire. She still has the scars." Adrian's expression shifted. Recognition. Kinship. Both orphaned by violence. Both trying to rebuild. Saturday afternoon, Rocco drove them to a small park in Astoria. Alara pushed Leo on the swings, his laughter bright and startling higher, higher, while Rocco maintained position near the entrance, eyes scanning. Another boy approached. 6, maybe 7. "Wanna play tag?" Leo froze. Looked at Alara. She nodded encouragement. They played. Leo ran, tagged back, shrieked when caught. First peer interaction in 8 months. Normal childhood moments Alara had worried he'd forgotten how to have. She settled on the bench, watching. Something warm and whole expanding in her chest. Then the black SUV pulled up. Wrong make. Wrong windows. Wrong energy. Rocco was moving before Alara processed why. His hand disappeared inside his jacket, voice low and urgent in her ear. "Walk to the playground. Get Leo. Don't run." Alara's heartbeat spiked, but she stood calmly, walked. "Leo, sweetie, time to go. But we just... Now, please." Something in her tone made him obey. She took his hand, shielded his body with hers, walked toward Rocco's sedan, while 2 men exited the SUV, eyes scanning the park with predatory focus. One pulled a phone. Spoke into it. They'd been spotted. Rocco drove fast but controlled, checking mirrors, taking turns that made no sense until Alara realized he was clearing their tail. Leo asked questions she couldn't answer, confusion bleeding into fear. Adrian was pacing when they arrived. Rocco must have called ahead because Adrian's face was stone, rage barely contained beneath the surface. He dropped to Leo's level, hands checking for injuries. "Did anyone touch you? Are you hurt?" "We played," Leo said, confused. "Had fun." Adrian crushed his son against his chest, whole body shaking. After Leo retreated to his room, Adrian turned that glacial fury on Alara. "This was a mistake. I shouldn't have brought you into this. You could have been killed. He could have been taken." Alara stood her ground. "But we weren't. Rocco protected us. And Leo had his first normal afternoon in 8 months. Don't take that away because of what might have happened. You don't understand the people hunting us. Then explain it to me. Stop protecting me from the truth and treat me like I'm part of this." Adrian's control cracked. "They killed Elena in broad daylight. Ice cream. She was taking him for ice cream. Shot her in front of our son because they wanted to hurt me. Because I tried to leave. Because I chose my family over. He stopped, breathing hard. Alara stepped closer, close enough to see his hands trembling. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. Leo needs me, and I think you need me too. I can't let anything happen to you. I can't survive losing someone else. The air between them turned electric. Leo's voice called from upstairs, breaking the moment like glass. But the truth hung there anyway, undeniable. Something had shifted. Something neither of them could take back. 2 a.m. found Alara in the kitchen, unable to sleep, making tea she didn't really want, just needed her hands busy, needed to stop replaying that almost moment with Adrian. The way his voice had cracked on "I can't survive losing someone else." She found him at the table. Whiskey glass. Old photograph face down like he couldn't bear to look but couldn't bear to put away. Alara started to retreat. Stay. Adrian's voice was rough. Please. I don't want to be alone with the ghosts tonight. She sat. Poured tea. They existed in silence for long minutes. Nothing but the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic. Finally, you ask me to explain the truth. Are you sure you want to know? I've been living in your world for a month, Alara said quietly. I deserve to know what that world actually is. Adrian picked up the photo, turned it. A younger version of himself, smiling, actually smiling with Elena and infant Leo. A different life, a different man. My father was an accountant, he began. I didn't know who he worked for. Just that we always had enough. Not rich, but comfortable. Then, when I was 14, he didn't come home one night. They found him 3 weeks later in the East River. Ilara's teacup stilled halfway to her mouth. He'd been Sal Vespucci's accountant. Wanted out. Threatened to expose financial crimes. Sal doesn't negotiate. Adrian's fingers tightened on the glass. My mother couldn't handle it. 6 months later, I found her in the bathtub. Pills. The air felt too thin. Foster system, aged out at 18 with nothing. No family, no money, no future. He drank. Sal found me. Said I had my father's mind for numbers and strategy. Offered me a choice, use it for him, or end up like my father. I was angry, broke. Had nothing left to lose. And you were good at it, Alara said softly. I was extraordinary at it. No pride in his voice, just fact. Logistics. Planning. Problem solving. I never pulled the trigger myself. Told myself that made me better than the soldiers. It didn't. It made me worse. I knew exactly what I was ordering. He refilled his glass. Alara waited. I met Elena at a charity gala. Front for money laundering. But she was just a waitress working the event. Had no idea who I was. When she found out, his voice caught. She should have run. Instead, she said, "You can be different." And you believed her. She made me want to believe her. We had Leo. I tried going legitimate. But Sal doesn't let valuable assets retire. Then one day, Sal decided I was too close to leaving. Too happy. So he sent a message. The words came out flat. Empty. Like he'd bled them dry months ago. Ice cream, Adrian whispered. She was taking Leo for ice cream. Alara reached across the table, took his hand. He looked at their joined fingers like he'd forgotten what comfort felt like. I grabbed Leo and ran. Left everything. Became nothing. Because nothing was safer than being me. He looked up, eyes hollowed. Then that night, bleeding in an alley, I thought we were done. And you opened your door. Alara had to ask. Had to know. How many people have died because of your plans? Adrian didn't flinch. Didn't soften it. I stopped counting at 20. It's more. Much more. She'd expected justifications. Excuses. Got raw truth instead. I can't undo any of it, he said. I can only try to make sure Leo never becomes what I was. Alara stood. Adrian's face fell. Of course she's leaving, but she circled the table, stood in front of him. I Googled you after you left my apartment. Saw the articles, the crime scene photos. I should have blocked your number. Should have stayed in my safe. Broke, normal life. Adrian started to speak. She stopped him. But I can't stop thinking about Leo's hand in mine. About the way you look at him like he's your whole world. About the fact that you're trying. She swallowed. And I can't stop thinking about you. Even knowing what you've done. Maybe especially knowing, because you're not hiding from it. You shouldn't want this. Adrian stood, close enough she could feel his breath. I'm going to bring danger. You already did, and I'm still here. They looked at each other. Years of pain and loneliness and loss between them. Years of believing they didn't deserve second chances. Adrian reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away. Cupped her face with hands that had orchestrated terrible things but touched her like she was something holy. If I do this, Sal will use you against me. Then we make sure he never gets the chance. The kiss was desperate. Tender. Two drowning people finding air. When they broke apart, Adrian whispered against her forehead, I don't deserve you. Stop deciding what you deserve. Alara's hands fisted in his shirt. Just be here. Be real. Be better. Promise exchanged. No words needed. They'd try. Together. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. 2 months became the happiest Alara had ever known. Mornings meant Leo chattering through breakfast about dreams and dinosaurs and could they please get a dog. Teaching sessions where he read full books aloud. Stumbling over big words, but trying anyway. Adrian coming home to Leo, launching himself into his arms. Papa. Alara taught me fractions. Like it was the greatest news in the world. Dinners as a family. Real family. Alara cooking while Leo set the table. Adrian helping despite being terrible at it. Laughter filling the house. The smell of garlic and tomatoes and something rising in the oven. Bedtime rituals. Alara reading, Adrian tucking in, Leo saying love you both before sleep claimed him. Late nights on the couch. Adrian's arm around her shoulders, planning impossible futures in whispers. Eve visiting on Sundays, grudgingly approving of Adrian after he fixed her wheelchair and debated politics without condescension. Leo drew a new picture. 4 people holding hands now. When Alara asked who they were, he pointed. Papa, me, you, Grandma Eve. Found family. Dangerous to have this much to lose. Saturday morning, Adrian found her in the backyard. Leo was inside with Rocco, the 2 of them building something elaborate with Legos, rare playfulness from the stoic bodyguard. Adrian was nervous. Alara could tell by the way his hands stayed in his pockets, the way he kept starting sentences and stopping. I've been thinking about what comes next, he finally said. For us, all of us. Alara waited. I have money. Legitimate investments Elena's father set up before she died. Enough to disappear properly. New identities. New city. New life. He pulled his hands free, gestured like he was painting a picture. Small town. I could consult for tech companies remotely. Leo could go to real school. You could finish med school. We could be normal. Her heart broke and swelled simultaneously. Are you asking me to run away with you? I'm asking you to build a life with me. As a family. Officially. He pulled a ring from his pocket. Simple gold band with a small diamond. Old-fashioned. Beautiful. This was my grandmother's. Only good thing I have from before. His voice roughened. I know it's insane. I know it's dangerous. But Alara Hayes, will you marry me? Will you be Leo's mother? Will you help me be the man I should have been all along? Alara was crying, laughing. Yes, yes to all of it. They kissed. Leo's voice came from the window. Are you crying? Is Alara sad? And they broke apart laughing. Adrian lifted his son when he ran outside. Nobody. Alara's happy. We're all happy. How would you feel if Alara stayed with us forever? Officially part of our family? Leo's face went solemn, thoughtful. She's already my family. But forever sounds good. He hugged them both. Perfect moment. Complete joy. That evening, Alara told Eve over the phone. About damn time, Eve said. That man looks at you like you hung the moon, and you look at him like he taught you how. Grandma, your parents would want you happy, sweetheart, and that little boy needs you. Pause. But be careful. Happy endings have to be earned. Words that felt like warning and blessing both. The planning started that night. Adrian, Alara, Rocco at the kitchen table with documents spread like a map to a different life. New identities, Martin, Alara, and Leo Parker. Destination, small college town in Oregon. Far from New York. Far from violence. Timeline, 2 weeks. Sal's operation has been quiet lately, Rocco said, and something in his tone made Alara look up. Too quiet. We should move faster. 2 weeks, Adrian insisted. I need to liquidate assets properly, so we never have to come back. Alara saw the tension in Rocco's jaw. You think something's coming? I think we've been lucky, he said honestly. And luck runs out. 1 week later, Leo presented his school project. Not real school homeschool assignments Alara gave him, but he'd taken it seriously. Made a poster board titled, My Family. Used their real names. Real photos. Didn't know about Martin Parker yet. Didn't know about Oregon. Didn't know they'd be disappearing. He stood in the living room, presenting to Adrian and Alara like they were a classroom. Papa is strong and smart and loves me. Alara takes care of me and teaches me and makes everything better. Grandma Eve is funny and tells good stories. Uncle Rocco is very quiet, but he keeps us safe. Adrian and Alara exchanged looks over his head. This child had no idea what was coming. No idea that in 7 days, his whole world would shift again. After Leo slept, they stood in his doorway watching him breathe. When do we tell him? Alara whispered. After we're gone. Once we're safe. He's too young to understand why we can't say goodbye to people. He'll be angry we didn't warn him. But he'll be alive. Adrian pulled her close, both of them watching Leo's peaceful face. The child who'd stopped speaking and was now writing stories. The child who'd lost his mother and was learning to trust again. Do you really think we can outrun this? Alara asked. Adrian's arms tightened around her. I think we have to try. For him. For us. They had 7 days. But Sal Vespucci had been watching for months, and his patience had finally run out. The morning started ordinary. Leo at the kitchen table, pencil gripped in his small fist, practicing sentences in his careful handwriting. I love my family. We are happy. Adrian had left an hour earlier meeting a contact about the final identity documents. Rocco was doing perimeter patrol. Just Alara and Leo. Sunlight streaming through the window. The smell of toast still hanging in the air. Then the doorbell rang. Alara's hand stilled on the coffee mug. Nobody rang their doorbell. Ever. She checked the security monitor. Delivery person. Uniform. Clipboard. Large bouquet of flowers. Everything looked legitimate. Everything felt wrong. She pulled out her phone, called Rocco. 2 rings. 3. Did you order? No. Don't open. The line went dead. Alara's heart kicked into her throat. She grabbed Leo's arm. Sweetie, we need to play hide and seek. Go to your panic room. Right now. Leo's eyes went wide. Is Uncle Rocco okay? He will be. Go. Lock yourself in. Don't come out until Papa or I get you. Run. Leo ran. Alara heard his feet on the basement stairs, heard the reinforced door slam, the electronic lock engage. The front door exploded inward. Not flowers. Not delivery. 3 men in black. Guns drawn. Faces covered. Alara bolted for the back exit, made it 5 steps before hands grabbed her jacket, yanked her backward. She hit the floor hard, vision sparking. Fought anyway, scratching, biting, screaming like an animal. "The boy!" One man pinned her arms. "Where's the boy?" "There is no boy," Alara thrashed. "Wrong house." The leader pulled out a photo. Leo's face. "Don't lie. Sal wants the kid." "Where is he?" They didn't know about the panic room. Didn't know the house had a hidden basement. Alara made a split-second choice. School. Adrian took him to school this morning. The men tore through the house. Kicked down doors. Overturned furniture. Found nothing. The leader spoke into his phone. "Boy's not here?" "Yeah, got it. We take her instead." Alara was dragged into the yard. Saw Rocco on the ground. Blood pooled under his head. Chest rising and falling alive. Thank God, alive. Van doors opened. She was thrown inside. Doors slammed. Engine roared. And she was gone. In the panic room, Leo sat in the dark, knees pulled to his chest, wolf clutched tight. He'd heard everything muffled through reinforced walls, crashes, shouting, Alara screaming. Then, silence. He stayed hidden. Followed the rules. Even though every instinct screamed to run upstairs, to help, to do something. An hour passed. Maybe more. Time felt wrong in the dark. Then footsteps. Heavy. Fast. "Leo. Leo, where are you?" Papa's voice. Frantic in a way Leo had never heard. He unlocked the door. Ran up the stairs. Adrian caught him, crushed him close. "Papa." Bad men took Alara. Adrian's hands checked him for injuries. His face pale and terrible. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "No, but Alara." Adrian found Rocco outside, conscious now, pressing a cloth to the gash in his scalp. 4 men. Professional. They took her. Left this envelope. Adrian's name in block letters. Inside, photo of Alara tied to a chair, gagged, bruised, and a note. "The wraith returns or the woman dies. You know where to find me. SV." Adrian's face went blank. Completely empty. Terrifying. "Papa?" Leo tugged his sleeve. "Are they going to hurt Alara like they hurt Mama?" Adrian knelt, met his son's eyes. "No, I promise you, I'm going to bring her back." Across the city, at Ridgeview Nursing Home, Eve sat by her window with a book. 2 orderlies she didn't recognize entered her room. "Mrs. Hayes? Family emergency. We need to transport you immediately." Eve's sharp eyes narrowed. "What family?" Alara knows to call first. They moved fast. Grabbed her wheelchair. Eve fought 74 years old, but fierce as ever. Former principal who'd broken up teenage brawls, but they were younger, stronger. She screamed. An orderly clamped a hand over her mouth. The wheelchair was lifted, rushed toward the service exit. A real nurse tried to intervene, got shoved aside hard enough to hit the wall. Medical transport van. Doors open. Eve saw the syringe too late. "Alara, baby, I'm sorry." Darkness. Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. "Adrian." The voice was smooth, cold, satisfied. "It's been 8 months. Did you really think I'd let you just walk away?" "Let her go, Sal. This is between us." "Oh, but it's so much more interesting this way. I have your pretty nurse." Pause. "And for insurance, I also have the grandmother." Video message. 2 separate rooms. Alara bound and gagged. Eve unconscious in a chair. Both alive. For now. "Here's the deal," Sal continued. "You come to me. Alone. You work for me again. And maybe I let them live. You want me? Fine. Let them go first." Sal laughed. Actually laughed. "You're not negotiating from strength, Wraith. You come within 24 hours, or I start sending you pieces of the women you love, starting with the old one. Location pinged to his phone. Red Hook, abandoned factory. Come alone. Bring your son. He's part of the deal too. You're not touching my son. Then watch your women die. Your choice, old friend. 24 hours. The line went dead. Adrian stared at the phone. At the video still frozen on screen, Alara's terrified eyes, Eve's unconscious body, Leo upstairs, sedated now mercy sleep, because children shouldn't have to live through their fathers planning war. Rocco and 2 other loyalists at the table. Maps, weapons, strategy. It's a trap, Rocco said flatly. He'll kill you all regardless. I know. Adrian's voice was eerily calm. That's why I'm not playing by his rules. He pulled up his phone, showed them the tracking signal weak but present. Precaution I took months ago. Hidden microphone in all our clothes. If Alara's wearing the same shirt, we can track her. The signal matched Sal's location. Adrian's plan formed like he was back in the old days. Strategic, precise, brutal. I go in alone as demanded. You position around the perimeter. Wait for my signal. Strike hard. Priority: extract hostages, eliminate threats, survive. And if it goes wrong? Rocco asked. Adrian looked at the ceiling, at the room where his son slept. Then, at least I'd die, trying to save them instead of running. Later, alone, Adrian recorded a message for Leo, voice breaking on every word. I love you more than anything in this world. Alara loves you too. She'd give anything for you. If I don't come back, Rocco will take care of you. Be good. Be better than me. Be the man your mother would be proud of. He turned off the camera. Tomorrow, he'd walk back into hell, and he'd burn it all down to bring them home. 23 hours after the deadline, Adrian walked into Red Hook alone. I've walked into death before, he thought, approaching the rusted factory doors, but never for something I couldn't afford to lose. Rocco's team was in visible sniper positions in surrounding buildings. Entry points marked, waiting for the signal. But Adrian appeared solo, unarmed, defeated. Exactly what Sal expected. The doors opened. 4 men patted him down, took the gun he'd deliberately left visible, led him through an industrial maze of rusted equipment and shadows, their footsteps echoing off concrete and metal. Then he saw her, Alara, tied to a chair in the center of the space, gagged, bruised along one cheekbone, but alive. Her eyes went wide when she saw him, fear and relief and something that looked like fury. Through a glass partition to the left, Eve, unconscious or drugged, slumped in her wheelchair, hands bound. Sal emerged from the shadows, clapping slowly. The great wraith, reduced to begging. How poetic. Adrian's jaw clenched. Every muscle in his body screamed to move, to attack, to end this. But not yet. Sal circled him like a predator assessing prey. You cost me 8 months of searching. Do you know how that made me look? My best strategist vanishing into thin air? Let them go. You have me. That's what you wanted. Oh, I want much more than that. I want you broken. I want you to understand what you took from me. Sal stopped directly in front of Adrian. Elena wasn't a random hit. She was my niece, my sister's daughter. She was supposed to marry into the Castellano family, cement an alliance worth millions. You ruined that. You made her soft. So I made her dead. Adrian lunged. Guards caught him, held him back. Sal smiled. There it is. The rage. I've missed that. You were my greatest weapon because you never felt anything. Then she made you weak. He walked to Alara, stroked her hair. She flinched violently. And now this one makes you weaker still. Tell me, Wraith, which do I kill first? The girlfriend or the grandmother? He removed Alara's gag. Any last words? Alara spat in his face. You're a coward. You kill women and traumatize children because you can't face men like equals. Sal wiped his face, actually smiling. Spirit, maybe I'll keep you alive, use you properly. Adrian will kill you, Alara said, voice steady despite everything. Maybe not today, but eventually. Adrian's going to watch you die, then he's going to work for me again. Sal turned back to Adrian. Here's the new deal. You want them alive? You do one thing for me. Right here. Right now. He snapped his fingers. Two men dragged out a homeless man, terrified, confused, clearly grabbed off the street for this exact purpose. Sal placed a gun in Adrian's hand. Kill him. Prove you're still the Wraith. Prove you choose your women over your redemption. Adrian stared at the gun, at the innocent man, at Alara shaking her head desperately. Don't, she whispered. Don't let him make you that person again. Choose, Sal said, their lives or your soul. 10 seconds. Adrian raised the gun, aimed at the homeless man. Alara screamed. No, Adrian, no. His finger touched the trigger. He whispered, I'm sorry. I love you. Then swung the gun toward Sal and fired. Missed. Sal ducked, but the signal was sent. Windows shattered. Rocco's snipers taking out guards. Doors exploded inward. Tactical team flooding in. Smoke grenades. Flashbangs. Chaos. Adrian tackled Sal. They hit the ground hard. Fists and elbows and brutal efficiency. Rocco cut Alara's bonds. Can you walk? Get Eve. Alara ran herself, stumbling, toward the partition. Gunfire everywhere. One of Sal's men aimed at Alara. Rocco intercepted, took the bullet in his shoulder, returned fire without flinching. Alara reached Eve, fingers shaking as she untied the ropes. I've got you. We're getting out. Eve's eyes opened, groggy but fierce. Where's that man of yours? Adrian and Sal were still fighting, both bleeding now, Sal laughing through broken teeth. You can't escape this. You're a killer. That's all you'll ever be. Maybe. Adrian got Sal in a chokehold, pressed his own gun to Sal's temple. But I'm a killer who chooses who I protect now. Adrian, don't. Alara's voice. He looked up. She stood in the doorway, Eve beside her, both free, both alive. Don't kill him. Don't be what he says you are. We need you alive, not avenged. The gun shook in Adrian's hand. Sal laughed weakly. Weak, just like I thought. No. Adrian pulled the gun away, strong enough to choose differently. He knocked Sal unconscious with the gun butt, dropped him like garbage. Rocco, tie him up. Anonymous tip to the FBI. He answers for everything legally. Then Adrian ran to Alara, crushed her against him. I thought I lost you. I thought, I'm here. We're here. It's over. They kissed, bloody, battered, alive. Eve watched, tears streaming. That's the man worth fighting for. Sirens wailed in the distance. Rocco's voice. Authorities incoming. We need to move. Now. They escaped into the night, leaving Sal tied and unconscious for the police to find. Victory wasn't revenge. It was walking away together. 3 days later, the hospital room smelled like antiseptic and survival. Rocco sat up in bed, shoulder bandaged, refusing painkillers despite the nurse's insistence. Need to stay alert, he muttered, eyes still scanning exits like old habits died hard. Alara's bruises had turned spectacular shades of purple and yellow. Minor fractures in her wrist, wrapped and healing. Eve was recovering from dehydration and stress, already demanding discharge papers with all her principal authority. Adrian had cracked ribs and 17 stitches. Breathing hurt, moving hurt, living hurt. But they were alive. The door opened. A social worker led Leo in. He'd been in temporary protective custody during the investigation, staying with Rocco's sister. The moment Leo saw Adrian, he ran. Papa, you came back. You promised. Adrian caught his son despite the pain shooting through his ribs, lifting him like he weighed nothing. "I always will, buddy. Always." Leo's eyes found Alara. "You're hurt. Did the bad man hurt you?" "A little." Alara opened her arms. "But I'm okay now. We're all okay." Leo hugged her so hard she gasped. "I was so scared. I thought you died like Mama." "I'm not going anywhere," Alara whispered into his hair. "I promise." Family, battered but intact. 6 months later, Oregon looked like a postcard. Small house on a tree-lined street. Not running anymore. Just living. Adrian consulted for tech companies remotely using his strategic mind for good, helping startups optimize logistics. Alara took online med courses, finally finishing what she'd started. Leo attended regular school, made friends, came home with art projects and stories about recess. Eve lived in a cottage 2 blocks away, visited daily, argued politics with Adrian, taught Leo to bake. One afternoon, Leo gave his show-and-tell presentation using real names, real photos, no more hiding. "This is my papa. He used to make mistakes, but now he helps people. This is my Alara. She saved us. She's going to be a doctor. This is Grandma Eve. She's really smart and strong." His teacher smiled. "That's a wonderful family, Leo." "I know," Leo said, completely serious. "I'm lucky." The news played on their TV one evening, Adrian watching with Leo on his lap. Salvatore Vespucci, notorious crime boss, sentenced to life without parole. FBI credits an anonymous tip and recovered financial records for dismantling the entire Vespucci organization. Leo looked up. "Is that the bad man?" "Yes. But he can't hurt anyone anymore." "Good." Leo returned to his cartoons. Justice, Adrian thought, not revenge. That's the difference. Evening walk. Adrian led Alara to a small park near their house, deliberately chosen, carefully planned. "1 year ago tonight," he said, "in an alley in Queens, I was dying, and you saved my life." Alara smiled. "Technically, you saved mine too. Multiple times. I asked you to marry me 6 months ago, before everything went wrong." He pulled out his grandmother's ring, the same one. Kept safe through everything. The ring's still waiting. The question's still waiting. He knelt properly this time. No danger. No urgency. Just choice. "I'm not who I was. I'm trying every day to be better. For you. For Leo. For myself. Alara Hayes. Will you marry me? Will you build this life with me? Will you let me spend every day earning the gift you gave us?" Alara was crying, laughing. "You already asked me this." "My answer's still yes." She pulled him up, slipped the ring on herself. "But I want to hear you ask again. Every day. Because every day I choose this. Choose you. Choose us." They kissed soft, certain, full of tomorrow. 2 weeks later, they married in Eve's old school auditorium. Small ceremony. Rocco as best man. Awkward in a suit that didn't fit his soldier's frame. Leo as ring-bearer, so proud he practically glowed. Eve's suggestion. Leo walks Alara down the aisle. He's giving away his heart too. Their vows were simple, true. "Adrian, you found me broken in an alley and chose to fix what you could, not me yourself. By healing others, you healed us all. I vow to spend my life being worth that mercy. Alara, you taught me that people are more than their worst moments, that choosing to change is harder than staying the same. I vow to walk beside you through every choice, every day." Leo stepped forward unprompted. "I vow to be good and make you both proud." Everyone cried, everyone laughed. At the reception, Eve gave the toast. "To my granddaughter, who always had a healer's heart. To her husband, who found his way back from darkness. And to their son, who brought them together. May you always remember mercy rescues the rescuer. The family photo showed 5 people: Adrian, Ilara, Leo, Eve, and even Rocco, who'd become Uncle Rocco without anyone quite noticing when. All of them smiling, genuine, whole. 1 year ago, Ilara Hayes had $18 and no future. Adrian Valente was bleeding out with his traumatized son in his arms. They were strangers united only by desperation. Today, they were a family, built not on blood, but on choice, on mercy given when it wasn't deserved, on second chances, and as many chances as it takes. Because that's what love does. It doesn't erase the past. It builds something new from the ashes. Final image. Ilara in her white med school coat. Leo running to hug her after class. Adrian watching with Eve. Both of them home. Mercy rescues the rescuer. And sometimes, that's how you save the world, one broken person at a time. Thank you for staying with this story to the end. If Ilara and Adrian's journey moved you, please subscribe. We pour our hearts into these tales because we believe in redemption, second chances, and the power of mercy. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to choose differently. We'll see you in the next story.